Welcome back to episode 11 of Core IQ. We're breaking down professional level pickleball matches, trying to extract key concept from these pro players to improve our game from a 3-0 to a 4-0 or a 4-0 to a 5-0. I'm your host, Ryan Morneau, and I'm the #1 collegiate singles player in the country and a top 5 collegiate doubles player in the country. And I've played against some of these players, including Jon Truong here, as he's local Virginia. And this is going to be a really interesting match because today we're traveling all the way to Asia to watch a match from a few months ago between a pretty unique partnership. We have brother duo in the Truongs. Then on the other side, we have Ben Johns and Anna Bright, which is a big switch up from his usual partner in Anna Lee Waters. So this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup. And remember, our goal here is just to extract some key fundamental ideas from these pro players that we may not be able to see when we watch our own film or even when you're watching casually at home. So I'm going to help you guide through that process. And let's kick us off here. So we have 0-0-2 here. With Alix and Jon Truong on the far side, and then Ben Johns and Anna Bright on the close side. And something that may have already slipped your mind is this shot right here. So when you get a high ball, as Ben Johns does here, it's really important to hit it in one of two places. So he can go down the middle and hit it back at Alix Truong. That's an option, right? It's pretty unlikely he's going to get the ball to sit over in this zone and be a put away, just because you can see he's kind of leaning in. So he has really two options, and his options are this. He can go right at the left foot of Alix Truong, or he can go at the right foot of Jon Truong. And in this case, he goes down the middle at the right foot, which you can see is a pretty desired result as it ends up at a point. But the main point being is when you're in this situation, you get this ball, you have two real options if you can't put the ball away. You should think left foot of the left side player, or in this case, the female if we're playing mixed doubles, or the right foot of the right side player. So just think those two things. When you have a put away, if you can't have, if it's not a put away and you have a roll ball at the net, right foot of the right side player or left foot of the left side player. That's a pretty good kind of trick just to keep things simple when you have these overhead type balls. And a missed return out of Ben Johns there, but nothing to really worry about. And I think Jon Truong is one of the more interesting players because, as you can see, just look at where he holds his paddle, right? He is holding his paddle very far up on that handle, and this is pretty unique. It's not a tennis style. He doesn't come from tennis. He's young, right? I think he just turned 18. So this is something to keep in mind and just something to think about throughout this match. He uses a wide body paddle, but in mixed doubles, I've talked about this before, it's so big to have a big serve. It's so huge. He does it, huge serve, and then he goes right back at her, even when Ben Johns moving over. Doesn't get tempted to try to test Ben Johns there, which is a smart move, and leads to a point. So now we have 102 for the Truong siblings here. And for those of you that don't know, I'm based in Harrisonburg, Virginia, at James Madison University. And Jon Truong, I tried to get him to go here. He was moved down to Florida from Herndon, Virginia, which is only 2 hours away from where JMU is, and now he's playing professionally. I'm not actually sure what this shot is. We can look at that replay one more time just because of how funky that was looking. But instead of going cross court, he's just having a good time. He's in Asia. I'm sure he's not taking this tournament as seriously as he would a Grand Slam of a PPA. Good serve there out of Anna Bright. And one thing just to note, and this is something pros do all the time correctly, so it's not a huge deal, but just notice as Alix Truong runs, she's also hitting the ball. So hitting and running leads to this kind of error a lot of the time, right? It's just hard to control your shots when you have to think about your body and your feet, also while moving your hands and trying to hit the ball. Anna Bright here. Now we got 1-1, I believe, and a good volley there out of Alix. And let's see how this ends up. So just a missed dink, but I want to establish something early in the match here. So one of the things we talk about in mixed doubles is where should you go on the return? And it's kind of a question of, okay, do we have a weak female on the other side? In this case, it's Anna Bright, so no. So returning to her isn't necessarily as advantageous as it would be in other moments against other players. But what it does is if we return to Ben Johns, as you can see here, he's going to go in this middle area, and Ben Johns is going to take this. But look what Anna Bright doesn't do, right? She is not crashing this net. And this provides basically a free volley for these Truong siblings as they have no pressure. So even though it's a pretty good drive, and as you can see, Alix is kind of caught up, there's no pressure. So there's no real incentive for her to try to put the ball anywhere else besides in. And that is one of the key strategy things that we're going to see take place in this match is, do the Truong siblings continue to return to Ben Johns because of this lack of pressure, right? There's only so much he can do on that third shot to generate free points when Anna Bright's not applying pressure. So let's just see how that shapes up. And then, we see the exact opposite, which we'll point out here in a sec. Yeah, so I love this. So this is the exact opposite of what we just talked about. Look, Ben Johns is going to apply pressure, and he gets his team to the net. And what do I mean by that? Well, look, he is staring at Anna Bright's forehand. He knows that if she has a decent shot, she's probably going to this middle of the cross-court area, and he's going to be able to crash off this, right? And we just saw Anna Bright didn't crash a point prior. And why this is so big and why it might not look huge is, look, he's able to get to the net, bring his partner up, and now it's a 50-50 at the net. And as you can see, they're able to win this point. So pressure off your opponent's third shots is so critical, especially in mixed doubles. And now we have 3-2. Ooh, that's just... Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy reset out of Anna Bright. Then she wants it all, right? She's hungry for that point after a killer reset, but she wasn't able to get it, and now it's 3-2-2. Yeah, so let's rewind this because I really like this approach of Ben Johns here. Yeah, and this is one of the things that maybe he didn't learn from Gabe Tardio, but I think Gabe Tardio does it best, is when you have a good serve, look, right, he's already moving toward the ball here, and this ball is going to land around this area here, and what are the options? Well, if Anna Bright takes the ball, then it's probably going to take too long because Alix Truong's going to be already at the net by the time that either Ben Johns or Anna Bright can hit this, just on the trajectory of the return. So what Ben does, which is so smart, is he says, okay, well, I can't really drive it. Their feet are going to be planted. So instead of hitting some almost pointless drive, I'm just going to kind of scoop dink and get us to the net. And although it doesn't really work here because he has a pretty bad drop, other than a bad finish, it's a really good concept that I want you guys to be aware of, because sometimes driving is just pointless if your opponents are at the net and have their feet set. And here we go. Now we have 2-3-1. Truong siblings back on offense. Yeah, and this is the one thing we can't do, right? And this is where like inexperience in mixed doubles may come into play. But we can't do this shot right here. And it's the off the rise shovel down the line, because these men in these pro level matches are just too athletic. It's right here, right? So look at why this is so bad. It's because Ben Johns is laser focused on this ball, and he sees that based on Jon Truong here, his body position, there's no way that this ball is an aggressive shot. So what does that mean? Well, Ben Johns, all he has to cover now is this half of the court, and so does Anna Bright. So now two players are covering one half of the court, and what this allows Ben Johns to do is go hunt, and hunt he does for a really athletic finish here. So something we can't do is kind of scoop and push down the line in the midcourt, because it leads to moments like that at the pro level game. And you may be thinking, is that an acceptable shot if you're not playing against Ben Johns? And the answer is probably not, as it's just a bad concept in general. You usually want to be dinking middle there, or dropping middle. Oh, this is unreal. I hope we get a replay of that. It looks like we won't, but let's go back and take this here. So let cord. Then Ben Johns tries to get sneaky on him, and Jon Truong says, no. I'm putting this for a clean ATP winner, and the fans love it. I mean, look at them. They're there. Their phone's out, looking like LeBron with the flip phone. That is hilarious. And this crowd, I will say, is massive for a PPA event. And in Asia, it's getting a lot of love, and there's big growth market for not only the PPA, I think just the entire sport, though. And it's really cool to see, especially, I believe we're in Vietnam this week. Malaysia here. But both Jon and Alix Truong are Vietnamese. I think they played that tournament as well. And maybe they might have won that tournament, which was a pretty cool moment for them. And let's see what we got here. Okay, so 3-2-2 it looks like. Yeah, and let's see how this plays out. Oh, it's a really good drop out of Jon Truong, but I don't love this. And I've harped on this many times, but like, look, this is an option, right? He has the option to go down the line here. Or, sorry, I guess this is technically cross-court, but down Ben Johns' line. But why not go here, right? Why not drive drop in this area, or just drive it? If he drives it here, Ben Johns all over it. But if he drives it here, Ben Johns is all over it too. So the only real viable solution here in terms of playing your odds and having the best case scenario is we need to put the ball at the returner coming to the net, drive, drop, or drive, test Anna Bright here. And I just don't love that he doesn't do that. They end up winning the point due to a really good fifth shot out of Jon Truong. But just a thought is I want you guys to take away is you need to be returning or third shotting to the person coming to the net. I'd say 9 out of 10 times. And here we go. Interesting stack there out of Anna Bright and Ben Johns. It's pretty common in mixed doubles, but it's just always curious to see what different teams do. Oh, tricky, tricky. So this is a really good shot out of Alix Truong, and she gets super tricky here on this inside out, and she eventually goes down the line. But why is this able to work? How does this work? Well, look, she takes a step back here, right, where a lot of women, we saw Georgia Johnson last week, she was scoop dinking and shoveling this ball. Alix Truong, what she's doing is she's going to back up and then hit a ball cross court. And what this does is this sets up her next shot right here, where she's now like, okay, now I have the same look, but it's a bit of a high shot and a bright. So now I can do whatever I want. She catches Ben Johns off guard. It's just an unreal shot in front of an amazing crowd. Really good by Alix Truong there. Yeah, that's pretty tricky. And Anna Bright, she does not seem too happy. And she goes right at Alix and gets a point. But I do like this drop out of Jon Truong. I just talked about not going at Ben Johns, and he gets the exact same shot. Maybe a little bit more defensive here because it's a better return. But this time he goes cross court, and this allows him to get the net. And Anna Bright, though, with kind of an unreal pull there, which earns him the point. Another interesting dynamic is the fact that they are siblings. I don't know if I would be able to play with my sibling. I definitely can't play with like a significant other. That is something that's pretty underrated, and I think it's pretty impressive that both Jon Truong and Alix Truong can do that. And now we're in the same sort of pattern. Oh, look at this. Yeah, this is really good. Oh, it looks like we got some corrupted gameplay there. And a missed drop out of Jon Truong. Nothing crazy to take away there. It's just a really good point. It's some really good shots by some top pros. But, you don't see this much. We have Ben Johns and Anna Bright trailing. Let's see what they can do here. I like that Anna Bright applied pressure that time. While it didn't necessarily lead to an exact point, it got them to the net, which I think is important. So this is the danger of being back here, right? We just saw that Alix Truong had a really good result when she went down the line on Ben Johns and almost this exact same shot. But what happens here? This time she pops it up right here, and this is sort of the danger between stepping back 2 steps, right? When you're back like this, your margin of error becomes smaller because now you're hitting, as you can see, she takes kind of a full windup and goes cross court. And when you do that, there's just more error involved. So as we see this ball cross court, now instead of a scoop dink from this blue line, it's now in the yellow line. As you can see, there's about another 1.5 foot of error, of margin of error in this shot. So while it's advantageous at times and increases deception, it also increases error over a long term, 4, 5 to 10 dink pally, and she gets exposed there. So it's not a bad option. It's just something to think about as it leads to more error sometimes. Yeah, and let's see, Jon Truong getting the big in the middle here. And this is not the greatest shot here. So he tries to pull middle, but it's a little high. And then we get the full swing out of Alix, but that's more defensive. It's not really her fault there. She was kind of in a tough spot. And as we fast forward through this timeout, we now have a tie game at 6-6-1. So this is one of Jon Truong's best shots, and I really like this about his game and what makes him so good and a rising star in America right now is this shot, this poke. So as we take it back, why is this so good? Well, we mentioned earlier his grip, it's short on the paddle. And what this allows him to do is have these fast hands like this, right? He gets on that thing, and he's able to get this ball down. As you can see, his paddle face, it's staring down at the ground. So what makes this so hard for Anna Bright to deal with is because this is going to be coming at her feet, and it just makes it a really hard reset and a really good point out of Jon Truong, and it's really supported by his ability to hold the paddle the way he does, which I think makes him such a strong player in the PPA. Here we go again. Ben Johns is taking that, and I really like this strategy out of the Truongs here. Oh my goodness, look at this shot. I mean, this is unreal. What a drop. And let's just take this back, because I think this point has so much in store. And it's first here, right? Ben Johns, he has to hit this third, and there's no pressure at the net. I mean, look, there's no one in this zone. So this provides almost a free volley for the Truong siblings, and it already puts this team at a disadvantage. Like, now you look, Ben Johns is on his back foot, and while he hits a pretty routine drop for him, it makes the point harder. And we end up with this unreal drop shot out of Jon Truong. Ice cold, no celebration, absolutely money. And as we move this forward, and I like this too, is that now we see a mixed up drive out of Alix Truong, where she's been primarily dropping. And here's the pressure component, where we saw, again, if the male takes this drop, especially what we've seen Ben Johns, Anna Bright wasn't applying pressure. This time it goes to Alix Truong, and look at JT. He's moving up. He sees this. He wants to apply pressure. And because of the phenomenal drive out of Alix Truong, it leads to an error out of Ben Johns, because he notices, in his peripheral vision right here, he sees that Jon Truong is hunting. Anything in here, Jon Truong's got. Anything in here, Jon Truong's got. This leads to a very small margin of error for Ben Johns, which ends up leading to a mistake and a point for the Truong siblings. And I just really like that kind of that shot there out of Alix Truong. Now we got 6-6-1. After a few points in a rut, they're back here. And let's see here. Oh, this is a good point here. Oh my goodness, are you serious, Ben Johns? That is unreal. Again, this concept with the right foot, it's so good. Let's back this up though. So right here, we see a pretty good drop and a really good shot out of Alix Truong. Anna Bright is just so solid. And there we get, first of all, a crazy Ernie, really good recognizable pattern there. Alix Truong, good reset. But Jon Truong gets caught again in the same situation. I mean, if we rewind the tape 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, we see this exact same shot. It's just maybe a few spots over right here. But he goes again right at this right foot of Jon Truong, and it leads to an error. So again, taking away from this, when you have that kind of roll ball on your forehand, right foot of the right side player or left foot of the left side player. Primarily, whoever's closer at the net is usually the right idea. Here we go. We got 7-6-2 here, and honestly, this is just something that's really good out of both players. So I love that Alix Truong's leaning in here, right? She knows that this, again, is not going to be an offensive shot out of Ben Johns. Because he's scooping it, even if he does, for some reason, hit this off-speed middle ball, that is now Jon Truong's to cover. So Alix Truong, what she can do is she can say, okay, well, my bases are basically covered. The only real area I get in trouble in is here. So why don't I just lean in and look for that ball? And if it comes, then I can probably hit it out of the air. And that's exactly what happened. She gets this ball, but look at what Anna Bright does here on the flip side. She slides and hits an unreal backhand for a winner. And it's just unreal out of both women in this point. Two things we can take away. First, lean in when you can. And the second thing, Anna Bright, because she's a step off the line, she has time to react in that backhand. Now we have 6-7-1 for Johns and Bright. Yeah, so this is trouble here. And again, we saw that Alix Truong a minute ago went down the line at Ben Johns. This time she's going to switch it up and go through the middle. But now Ben Johns is a little more conservative. Look, he has the backhand out. He knows he has to cover the line. So what does that think in Anna Bright's mind? Well, she's like, okay, well now I have to cover middle because Ben Johns is going to cover line. And that's exactly what she does and leads to a clean put away. It's just really good teamwork and kind of knowing the angles out of both Johns and Anna Bright here. It's not even the worst pull out of Alix Truong. It's just a really good recognizable thing out of one of the probably two of the best players in the world. Nothing there, just a missed volley. Maybe trying to swing a little bit too much, but it's nothing to harp about. Yeah, look at this again. I mean, these two women are playing fantastic in this match. And it's things like this that just make the pros so good. I mean, Anna Bright, she's going to take this from down low. And look at what Alix Truong's able to do. Again, we talk about this slide concept. She moves a little bit off the court, opens up her torso, and just rips a backhand that ends up leading to a point here. Bang. So good. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Oh, and just out. It's a good idea, though. Right? And I like why she does this, right? Why is she thinking to lob here? And this is one of the things I think a lot of people struggle with is like, when should I lob? And this is when you should lob, right? 8-7. We've seen the progression. She's gone multiple dinks this way. She's gone now down the line speed up on Ben Johns that was successful. She's gone through the middle on a speed up that wasn't successful. So Ben Johns and Anna Bright have kind of seen everything she's got on this forehand. So what she does is she says, okay, I'm going to show you something new. I'm going to throw up a lob. And it actually works. She just hits it a little too far. But it's a really good thought to do that because it's just a pattern switch that they haven't seen yet. And here we go. Ben Johns takes the third. Again, these Truong siblings are sticking to the strategy of returning to Ben Johns. This is something you won't see often, is a missed flick out of Jon Truong like that. He's usually so good at that shot. And now we've got 10-7, I think on the 2 here. So let's see. We're going to Anna Bright on the return now. Again, it's just so good. Oh my goodness, what is this rally? Are you serious? Oh, and he just misses it. So let's take this back because I like the pattern switch up. When you're down 10-7-1, we talked about the Truong siblings. They've been returning to Ben Johns all game, and it's been working, to be honest. And now they go Anna Bright because they lost 2 once in a row. So I like that to start with. And the second thing is Jon Truong's all over it. Insane Ernie, but Ben Johns, he plants his feet and is able to get that ball back. And let's just look at this, because I think this is the key moment right here. So we see a crazy reset out of Anna Bright. And Jon Truong, he goes flying. Ben Johns, he's like, shit, I'm screwed. But what he does, he plants his feet, gets his paddle low, and just gets his hand on the ball. And it works out for him because they're able to get back in this point until Alix Truong hits a really good inside out to Ben Johns, and they ended up winning the point. And now we're saving match point at 7-10-1 now. Again, in the semifinals in the Malaysia Cup. I don't think I added that context before. That is important. So I'm curious to see what Alix Truong does now, because they're clearly targeting her on the dinks. And who's going to pull first here? Yeah, this is unreal. It's just insane pressure out of Ben Johns. I mean, look at this. First of all, he's camping middle. And then he goes right back to it. Camping middle, and it leads to an error. So let's just take this back one more time because I think it's so important. Right, so we see the point develop, but what I really love here is as we get into this dink battle, they're clearly targeting Alix Truong. They have been the whole match. But finally, we get Ben Johns and Jon Truong in this pattern. And look at the relentless pressure that Ben John applies to Jon Truong. And this is a forced error in my opinion, right? Because look, we get the first ball middle out of Jon Truong. He doesn't want to go too wide on Ben Johns, so he goes middle. Ben Johns all over the first one, able to put it back. Second one, same thing, except he takes about a half a step over this time and does the same thing. And this leads Jon Truong to think, okay, well, he keeps coming middle, so I have 2 options. I can go here, or I can try to go behind him. And I'm not going to go behind him because this is not a good option, right? This is going to lead to a lot of error a lot of the time and leave Alix Truong in a lot of trouble. And he's just forced to try to think about this shot because of the unrelenting pressure out of Ben Johns, which makes him one of the best players in the world, is that construct of pressure throughout a dink rally. So when you're playing, right, take that away. Like, be so dominant that you're making your opponent think about, all the different options he has because you just aren't missing, right? Now we have 10-7-1 on match, or game point, I guess, for Ben Johns and Anna Bright. And here we get a little bit of a let cord. They're going to take that definitely at this point in the match. Yeah, I love this. So this is such a good spot right here, right? Look at this spot he goes. And he's goes middle, and it may not seem like much, but especially with Ben Johns and Anna Bright, they haven't exactly played together too much before, and it's just this idea of making the two partners communicate, because this can equally be Anna Bright's backhand as it is Ben Johns' forehand. And you can see they get a little mixed up here as who's going for which, right? Look at this, right? They're both kind of stepping for the ball, and Ben Johns ends up taking it, but he's a little unsure of himself. So is Anna Bright, and it leads to an error. So I just love the spot out of Jon Truong there. And something we can take away is when you have that speed up middle, or that speed up middle between the two players is sometimes a really good option. It doesn't even have to be fast, as we saw there. And now we have 7-10-1 again, right? And Ben Johns, the pressure is just kind of unreal right now. And they are definitely in the heads of both JT and Alix Truong here. I would like to see an Alix Truong pull eventually. Wow, this is unreal. So again, I really think this is due to Ben Johns' pressure. Like, look, Alix Truong, she went down the line once at Ben Johns. I would like to see it again because it worked. But what Ben Johns is doing so well here is he's just sitting in this middle zone, and it reduces Alix Truong to a fifth of the court. And over a long series of shots, especially because she's backing up and not taking scoop dinks, it's just going to lead to an ATP at some point. And we see it there, and they end up cleaning up the point. Again, this is just really strong out of Ben Johns, creating so much mental pressure for this opposition. It's just so calm, so collected. It's just it's really fascinating to watch his level. And the thing many players while watching may not realize is just the effect it has on the opposition. His unrelenting pressure in his position and how good his footwork is makes him so good at the sport. Wow. Yeah, and this is one of the things that makes Jon Truong so good at the sport. I mean, look at these hands. This is unreal. He's going up against toe-to-toe against one of the best players in the world, and he's hanging in there and winning points. So let's break this down, right? First of all, what does he do so well to get himself in a good position? So he sees this, and he knows that he has to cover middle because Alix Truong is standing off the court. So that's the first thing he does, right? And now we see he's kind of stuck in this middle zone, and Alix Truong speeds up, and he's probably thinking, shoot, I'm in a horrible position right now. But what he does, he stands upright, gets his paddle up, and is able to get something on it. And from there, it's just pure talent, and it ends up winning the point off the net cord. It's just really strong out of Jon Truong there. Just wanted to highlight how fast his hands can be. 8-10 on the 2 now. Maybe the 1, actually. But let's see how this ends up playing out. Oh my goodness, we've seen a million ATPs. That one off the net, but it's just crazy. But what I do want to just help you guys think about is this right here. So why does Anna Bright do this? Why does she go to look for an Ernie here? I think that's a lot of times something we have in mind. Like when you see these players do that, in the moment, especially when they don't get the Ernie, it may seem silly or foolish. But I think it's important to understand why these pro players are doing this. And it's right here. So what's happening here? Well, Jon Truong is on his back foot. As you can see, his 2 feet are 5 feet apart. So we know this is going to be a defensive shot. That's step number 1 to recognizing when to go for an Ernie. Step number 2 is we can see that his paddle is all the way back here. So there's no way that he can kind of hit a speed up at least or some sort of roll wide. It's just not really a possibility, at least at a fast pace. So that reduces the court to this area right here. Then the next thing is, okay, well, he doesn't have an offensive shot, and he's really stretched out in his back foot, and he only has half the court he can go to. So why not Anna Bright? She says, okay, why not I just go over here and let Ben Johns have the other half, right? And that's what we see here. Jon Truong is able to get the ball cross court. Again, soft, like we talked about. He couldn't hit that ball fast. But that's when to look for an Ernie. Those are the recognizable things. Their heads down, their feet are pretty far apart from each other, and their paddle is in a defensive position. That's when we go to look for an Ernie. And while that may seem complicated, I think as you kind of get reps and you start to realize it more, and especially if you get your first Ernie jumping the line, it becomes much easier to recognize those 3 things. It's really all just one big thing. broken out into 3 steps. So I think on match point here, the last thing we can take away is just something really good, again, out of Ben Johns here. So one of the things we talk about with dominant males is this shot right here, and I love it because he's coming to the net, sets his feet, unreal speed up to win this match. So let's look at this. He is moving up the court, and Alix Truong, she's taking this from below her knees. So this ball trajectory, you know that the ball is coming up into Ben Johns, at least his torso area. So he doesn't have to really worry too much about having to plant his feet and getting sped up at. And while Anna Bright, she's going to cover middle because there's no real world where Alix Truong goes soft cross in an ankle breaker fashion, especially in this moment in this match. So this enables Ben Johns to say, okay, now I can kind of go to the net and apply some pressure and look for a high ball. And he gets it. Unreal inside-out flick for match point or for game point in the semifinals of the Malaysia Cup. Really strong out of Ben Johns and Anna Bright. And that will wrap up our video. So yeah, one thing I really want to take away from especially this Asian tour is if you guys aren't familiar with PPA Asia and what they're trying to do over there, it's really a growth market, like I said, for PPA and pickleball. And these fans are much more dedicated to kind of watching the sport and playing. Again, the volume of people, the population is greater, so you'd expect larger turnouts at these events. But when the stars show out, these people are here and they love the kind of the hometown players. I remember watching the Vietnam matches when, again, Alix and Jon Truong were playing. That was really special to see that crowd kind of rally behind them. So just wanted to note that there, as it is a growing market, and you're going to see more and more of not only Asian tours, but Asian players coming over to America and making a real statement. So with that being said, that'll wrap up our video today. Let me know down below in the comments what matches you guys want to see reviewed. If there's anything in particular, I'm happy to do it. And I hope you took something away from this video that when you go and play, you're at least thinking about one of the things we talked about, whether it be the right and left foot when you're kind of on this roll forehand, when to Ernie, or many more, right? So take away something, subscribe down below, and let me know in the comments what you want to see next. With that being said, have a great rest of your day. See you later.